Hey, Blake T. Wild here, and welcome back to The Ultimate Era! But also welcome back to... The Ultimate Era presents... Spider-Ganza! Thwip, 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 thwip. As always... it gets dumber and dumber every episode. As always, this series is brought to you by things such as my Patreon, where you get early access to videos and all of my self-made, creator-owned comics and more, and my Etsy shop, where you can buy the aforementioned comics in physical copies. Every purchase comes with a free head sketch of any character of your choosing. Released in 2006, written by Brian Michael Bendis, with art by Mark Bagley and Stuart Immonen, this is Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Nights. Ultimate nights, more spidery than ultimate days. The book actually begins about a week after the previous volume, Clone Saga. Peter and MJ meet with the damage control boys outside of Peter's residence, and he asks if he can just head inside and get his stuff. And Bulldozer goes over the official documents and asks if he's really Peter Parker. Peter assures him that he is, and that he actually lives there, and they just let him inside, so he gets his backpack, stuffs his suit inside, and wonders how he is going to break the news to Kitty Pryde. Then he puts it off. Sometime later, Peter and MJ meet May at the hospital as Peter tells them that he loves hospital food and doesn't get why people are so down on it. Right? I don't know if that's Brian Michael Bendis just making a joke about Peter Parker being someone who enjoys hospital food, but I heartily agree. I love hospital food. As someone who had to visit hospitals a lot as a child, not for me. I adore it. It's delicious. Anyway, May asks MJ how long she knew about Peter, and MJ reveals the whole time. May says that once she's dismissed from the hospital, they will have a lot to talk about. And she flips through the channels and complains about all the reality TV crap that's airing in the middle of the day, as she winds up on a news channel reporting Spider-Mania is now sweeping New York. And also there's a ticker on the bottom of the screen noting that an anti-mutant legislation has passed in California. It doesn't have anything to do with it, but it's just a nice piece of world building, especially knowing where mutants kind of go into the future, specifically United we stand, divided we fall, whatever that sort of event is. Anyway, the news reports that a new Reuters poll says that Spider-Man has quickly become the most popular hero in New York, passing even Captain America. And later that day, Wilson Fisk is shown the same news report, and he asks why they're showing him this. And his lawyers explain to Fisk that he recently purchased a holding firm which owns a licensing company that owns a global licensing rights to Spider-Man. Fisk orders them to take any and all offers. It doesn't matter what. Flood the market and run him into the ground and make Fisk a lot of money. And a few days after that, and I should note here that where I think this generally takes place. If you're following along all of my Ultimate videos, you'll know it's fucking ridiculous to claim that all of Ultimate Spider-Man happens in the course of a year, which for some reason they decided upon. So in my headcanon, I generally follow it takes place over the course of his high school career, all 4 years or so. Maybe 4.5 years if you want to push it. So, I have put this past the Clone Saga and the vampire stories, that we covered previously. This is now into December of Peter's junior year. Probably mid to late December, with this part of the story taking place and going into Peter and MJ's winter break. And then we, work on into the new year as this volume progresses. And I feel that really works because, well, look at how everyone on the street is dressed. It's clearly winter. It's winter break. Sure, we don't see what they do for Christmas, but that's not important. Anyway, MJ talks Peter into web-swinging her across New York, and they head to the Baxter Building. Johnny jokingly asks Peter if he's the real Peter or a clone of the world's most popular superhero. Peter sarcastically laughs as Reed stretches over and thanks them for coming by because he just needs to perform a couple more follow-up checks on Mary, and it should take about an hour. Peter asks if she's okay with him swinging by the Bugle to, make sure he still has a job, and he heads off to find an ominous note taped to his computer. Peter heads into Jonah's office and finds him arguing with Ben Urich about an article.
Oh, look who's here! Hey, everybody, it's Mr. I can come into work whenever I want! I am fired! Mr. I don't work here anymore!
I'm fired?
Don't come in for days on end and you get fired! It's a life lesson, and I just taught it to you. Today, You are a man. Bye-bye.
Peter begins explaining that his house was attacked in Queens and his aunt had a heart attack. Jonah asks if this is the same aunt that once screamed at him over the phone. Peter confirms, and Jonah asks if she's okay. Peter tells him that she's still in the hospital, so he declares Peter not fired. Peter pushes his luck and asks if he could have a raise and some more hours, you know, with his aunt in the hospital and all. And then Ben realizes that Peter was at the site of the attack in Queens. And Peter tells him, yeah, he saw it. It was Norman Osborn. He turned into a giant green goblin monster and fought some robots. Then Spider-Man showed up and beat him up. And Ben asks how he knows it was Norman. Peter says he kept shouting his name, which honestly isn't too far out of the realm of possibilities for Ultimate Norman Osborn. Peter tells them that his house got totally trashed, and Ben says that Jonah has the front page world exclusive Spider-Man vs. Green Goblin with eyewitness accounts and a Daily Bugle exclusive. Jonah turns and tells Peter that this is why he gets to keep his job. And Peter asks for a teeny tiny raise. Jonah agrees and also lets him work the weekend edition, in the hopes that Peter can use it to learn about the world of print and journalism a little more. And Peter tells Jonah that he's a really great guy, and he doesn't know why everyone says he's such a... Jonah glares at him, and Peter meekly thanks him and slinks out of the office with Ben. And sometime later, Wilson Fisk begins a new recruitment drive. They meet with some newfangled self-proclaimed supervillain in the parking garage of Fisk Tower, and Fisk asks what the guy does. The guy tells Fisk that he kills people, and Fisk demands that he kill his assistant. The man in the suit hesitates, and Fisk asks if he's undercover locally or federally. Then the tryout leaps into action until Fisk punches him into a car, rips off his mask to discover Shang-Chi. Kingpin launches him across the parking garage and orders his men to kill him, and they unload their guns but discover that he has escaped. And Fisk tells Mr. Rose to work harder on the screening process in the future. A few blocks away, Shang-Chi escapes to a rooftop where he meets Daredevil. And Daredevil informs him that he's been trying to find him for quite some time, because he's putting a team together, and he'd be perfect for the role. And back across town, Peter returns to the Baxter building as MJ finishes up, and Peter brings up the nightmares she's been having, and if MJ told them about him. And MJ explains, and she also brings up when she thought that she saw the clone that kidnapped her that one morning. And Reed and Dr. Storm conclude that it's PTSD. Ben tells her that it happened to him after they fought the Mole Man and his monsters a few years ago, and Sue clarifies that while it's not normal and that they should keep an eye out on it, there's no real cause for concern because it's apparent why it's happening to her. Cut to a big flash forward, a time jump if you will, to the beginning week of spring semester. MJ and Peter head into school as Peter tells Mary Jane that Johnny asked if they can help him find a date. Then a voice calls out to Peter. The voice of Matt Murdock, attorney at law. Peter tells MJ to head inside without him, and Matt asks if Peter recognizes his voice. Peter says that he does, and asks why the hell he's here. And he's also surprised that he's blind. And then he asks how he fucking found him. And Matt reminds him that the world thinks Spider-Man goes to school here. All he had to do was listen for him with his heightened senses. Matt then offers Peter to meet him on a rooftop across from St. Patrick's Cathedral tonight at 8 p.m. because they are going to kill the Kingpin. Then he walks away. And later in class, Jessica Jones, an executive producer of the school's television news network, performs a recruitment drive of her own. MJ and Peter pass notes about what happened, and she asks if he ever did call Kitty. Then Principal Andrew interrupts and apologizes because they have a new student joining the class a little late. And he tells the class that she's kind of well known, and he's sure she'll spark some discussion. But she has assured him that she is up to it, and he welcomes in Kitty Pryde. The teacher welcomes her and offers her an empty seat behind Mary Jane, who is completely frozen. And the students, Kong in particular, have an immediate fascination with her, and they ask her all kinds of questions about the X-Men, if she got kicked out, why she got kicked out. And Kitty tells them that she parted ways, and Flash asks what her powers actually are. The whole class wants to see. So Kitty phases her hand through a book. Then Liz snidely asks why she thinks she's better than them. And Kitty tells her she didn't fucking coin the term homo superior, and she believes in true equality. Liz argues and then sulks as Flash asks if she actually fought Magneto before. Then Jessica Jones begins filming her with her phone and asks if she's still dating Spider-Man. Kitty denies this. Flash asks if that's why she's here, because people think Spider-Man goes to school here. And Kong makes a note that she is single now, and more kids start getting into her face about mutants, Spider-Man, her powers, questions, prodding away at her until Kitty finally flips out and runs through the wall. The whole class go crazy, and the teacher slams a book down and chastises them for how fucking rude they were to her. And later, out at the bleachers after school, MJ and Peter find Kitty. MJ feels terrible for her, and Peter tries to joke that she should since she stole Kitty's boyfriend. And MJ glares at him and orders Peter to get his ass up there and talk to her. And then Peter says goodbye since he has to head into the city to the hospital afterward and climbs up the bleachers. Peter begins off by saying that he's tried to call her, and Kitty tells him that he should have gotten his ass on a train and went to Xavier's to tell her in person instead of just going totally radio silent. Peter reminds her that he's been a bit busy recently and asks what happened at Xavier's. And she reveals that she and Jean went to the hospital to find he and May, and she tried to get Xavier to help Peter by making May forget about what happened. And when he didn't, she kinda lost it on him completely and got expelled. Peter awkwardly thanks her for trying to help the way she did, but notes that it happened, and Peter needed to take responsibility. Peter asks why she's here, of all places, and Kitty reveals that her mom moved them about 8 blocks away. She doesn't like it either. Then she reveals that she saw him and MJ kissing the morning after the attack. And Peter tells Kitty that he almost lost her, and she points out that he always loved her, even if he didn't admit it. Peter says that he made a big mistake, and Kitty interrupts and asks if he's talking about her, if she's the mistake. And then she phases away. And that night, Spider-Man swings through the city towards St. Patrick's Cathedral, and on a rooftop, he finds Doctor Strange, Iron Fist, Shang-Chi, Moon Knight, and Daredevil. Daredevil swivels and motions for Spidey to head on down, and he lands and greets everyone, and Daredevil explains that they all want the Kingpin for their own reasons. I would love to know, what is Strange's deal with the Kingpin? What is that about? Daredevil continues that he's brought them all here to form their own army against Fisk's and to bring him down. Spidey asks if he means killing him, and Daredevil tells him it's time that he grow up, because this is what has to be done. Spidey argues it wouldn't do anything because someone else would just take his place, and asks if everyone is actually comfortable with really killing Fisk. Strange notes that he's not, but he's okay if someone else does it. Spidey tells them that they're heroes, and that's supposed to represent something. Moon Knight tells them to grow up, and Shang-Chi points out that they've tried being good, and that has gotten them nowhere. Spider-Man tells them that if they kill Fisk, he'll go and tell Nick Fury on them, and he's not going to let them just murder a man. And Daredevil lumbers over Spider-Man and tells him he doesn't fight kids. Then everyone calms down, and Daredevil points out Shang-Chi's idea he had earlier to infiltrate the Fisk organization through Fisk's still ongoing search for new assassins/bodyguards. The only bad part about that is that Fisk recognizes them all, except for Moon Knight. And he's great at making new identities. Daredevil's down for that and proposes that Moon Knight gets in, gets close, and tips off the Knights where they can find and truly hurt Fisk by breaking the very backbone of his day-to-day operations until Fisk becomes so paranoid and sloppy that he ruins himself. And later that night, Danny Rand betrays the team to Kingpin. A few weeks later, a masked man called Ronin meets with Fisk for his recruitment. Ronin tells Fisk that he does whatever needs to be done. Fisk orders him to prove it, and he makes quick work of Fisk's bodyguards. Mr. Rose tells him that Ronin checks out as Mark Spector, an ex-Navy SEAL who was part of an early super soldier program gone wrong during the Gulf War. Then he worked at Roxxon until he went rogue. And Fisk is very pleased and instructs Ronin to prove himself by wrecking Spider-Man's life and bringing the web slinger back here. And meanwhile, life has been going pretty well for our cast at Midtown High. Mary Jane has joined up with the school's news network and is taking a very keen interest in journalism. She's actually working on a story about Spider-Man either being a student or faculty member. She takes to interviewing Flash Thompson about his experiences getting kidnapped, the new Principal Suntress, about his feelings on Spider-Man. The principal notes that the school and the district have conducted thorough investigations on all the faculty and school employees and found nothing. Then he says that the true damage hasn't been from Spider-Man. Instead, it's the media who keeps reporting and making stories on the rumors that Spider-Man goes here. And he also notes that the Spider-Man situation at Midtown is taken very seriously, and it even cost his predecessor his job. But he speaks out to Spider-Man directly, should he be watching this, and personally thanks him for all the heroic work he's done. He then reveals that Spider-Man once saved his mother from a runaway bus, and speaks to the camera directly, and asks that if Spider-Man is watching, to keep doing what he is doing right now. Because the world desperately needs good people, and he would be so proud to hear that their school helped produce someone like him. All that he asks is that they keep it out of the halls, off school grounds, and away from the children that he is charged with. And Mary Jane Watson wraps up the Midtown High News Channel project. And the teacher in charge is very impressed that she did all this on her own. Jessica, in particular, was quite surprised, and the teacher officially welcomes her to the Student News Network. Later, she shows off her new camera to Peter and tells her all about the news network. He jokes that she used him to get extracurricular padding on her college transcripts, and she reminds him of all the shit she's gone through, and that she kinda deserves it. Then Kitty passes by, glances at them, and keeps walking. And Peter reminds her that they only have one more year of high school left. That's how many more times that this will happen, and the two will awkwardly run into Kitty in the halls. And then Liz comes out with a hard and fiery, maybe she should go back to where she came from. And MJ yells at her and demands that Liz stop spouting her mutant phobia around her, or else Mary will stop being her friend. And outside, Mark Spector hotwires a school bus, gets in costume, and floors it through the front of the fucking school. Then he clambers out of the bus and unloads a goddamn Uzi into the ceiling, demanding that Spider-Man appear before him. Kitty Pryde breaks into action, relishing that she finally has someplace to exert all the anger she's been holding in for the past few months, and Ronin unloads on her, but it phases right through Kitty as the sprinkler system begins drenching them. Ronin is slammed into the wall, grabs a fire extinguisher and sprays her and slams it into her head. Then Spider-Man arrives and loses control on the masked freak. And in Mark Spector's mind, a new personality overtakes Moon Knight. And Spidey goes to check on Kitty as Ronin escapes and begins firing tranq darts at him. Spider-Man manages to dodge almost all of them. And the police arrive and begin surrounding the school as Ronin escapes to the rooftop with Spider-Man's unconscious body and uses his webbing to swing away over the football field, where Mary Jane watches with her camera.
Spider-Man, 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 wake up, oh Spider-Man. Ah, there you are. I thought you might have a concussion, but you are one tough little mutant boy. Are you a mutant? Everyone thinks you're a mutant. I was going to do a fingerprint search, but my friends in the FBI told me that Nick Fury had you flagged. And I don't want poor Mr. Fury to have to worry about you. At first I wondered, why can't I know your name? Why are you under Fury's protection? Then I thought, it doesn't matter what your name is, or where you live, or why, or how, or what. All that matters is that you are Spider-Man. Naive little Spider-Man, with your little agenda to fix the world. It's very annoying and very immature, and getting you nowhere. And now I know where to find you the next time you come around here. I know exactly where you are. So if you come after me, I'll blow up that school of yours. Maybe I'll send some people to Westchester and firebomb that mutant school. Burn your little girlfriend. Try to hurt me, and I hurt you back. But if I have you here tied up and helpless, a gun to your head, my fists, Then why don't I just kill you now and get it over with? Well, this is why. This Spider-Man action figure just had the prototypes made up because I found out that I own the merchandising rights to your likeness. The movie made $500 million, and it looks like you have to give yourself your own haircuts. But as your popularity grows, so does the value of your likeness. So no matter how much of a pain that you think you are to me, it's nothing compared to how much I'll make off of you just being you. I own you. So I want you to go back to your little gang of vigilante knights and tell them to cut it out. Your pal, Matt Murdock, the Daredevil, he works for me. He always has. He's my lawyer, and I sent him to screw you idiots up so I can prove you're playing a game whose rules I invented. Now go tell the rest of your idiot friends to find another hobby! And if you don't, the nostalgia market is big. So after I kill you, there will be an initial surge in merchandising profits. But you're hardly Jimi Hendrix, so I would rather keep you around. Any fat jokes you want to toss my way before we're done? That's what I thought.
And elsewhere, in a court, a case is dismissed as Foggy congratulates Matt on another job well done. And Matt overhears a nearby police officer's radio reporting on a masked vigilante attacking Midtown High, apparently involving Spider-Man. At sunset, Daredevil breaks into Fisk Tower and makes his way into Kingpin's empty office, and he finds water on the desk. And then he contacts the Sanctum Sanctorum, where Wong picks up the phone. Wong delivers it to Stephen as he's meditating, and alerts him that it is urgent. Shortly after, Stephen Strange teleports into Kingpin's office, and Daredevil tells him that the Spider-Man kid is in trouble. Strange gets nervous about breaking and entering. Seriously, why is Strange a part of this? In-universe. Why? What did Kingpin do to him to lead to this? If anyone has any suggestions, please leave them in the comments, because I would love to know. Daredevil tells him to knock off the bullshit before Kingpin tortures and kills a teenage boy, so Strange casts a spell that creates a vision of the previous events that leads them on a magical trail. Strange wonders if Moon Knight actually betrayed them. Daredevil has his doubts, but they make their way through the building, down the elevator shaft, and eventually into a large sealed door at the basement. And inside they find a stool, a crate, and dried blood. Strange tells Daredevil that Kingpin beat Moon Knight, and then they left and drove away, and they left Spider-Man in the room. Daredevil tells Strange to assemble the others, and a few hours later, the Knights all meet up and try to figure out what to do now that two of their members are missing. Then Daredevil's webbed in the face and Spider-Man attacks him. He reveals to the others that Daredevil sold them out. Daredevil assures him he did no such thing, and Spidey tells him that he learned from Fisk that Murdock is his lawyer. Daredevil panics that Fisk knows who he is and asks Spider-Man if it's true, and seconds later, the law offices of Nelson and Murdock explodes. He assures the group that it was closed for the night and no one was inside. And then he tells Spider-Man that Fisk killed his father, all because he wouldn't throw a boxing match. And he continues that he wants to bring Fisk to justice, because that's the only revenge that will have any meaning. Because Fisk doesn't believe in justice or the law, or that he can be punished. And Daredevil thought about what Spider-Man said since their last meeting. Spider-Man tells him that Fisk found out who Daredevil was because someone told him. And Shang-Chi suggests that it must have been Moon Knight. Then Daredevil hears Danny Rand's rapid heartbeat, and he spins around to demand to know what Danny told him. And outside the city, Mark Spector is dragged out of a van, stood before the river, and shot in the head. As Daredevil beats the shit out of Danny Rand and demands to know why he betrayed them. And Danny confesses that Fisk found out about his daughter, Colleen. His men went to her daycare and pinned a note on her for him to find when he picked her up. And he had to betray them to keep her safe, and he doesn't want to go back to jail. He actually wants to be with his family and support them. Daredevil shouts that Moon Knight's death is Danny's fault, and all of this is on him. And Shang-Chi silently walks away in disbelief as Danny tries to call out to his old friend. A few hours later, Danny meets Kingpin in his penthouse, revealing everything that happened, and how Daredevil gave him another chance. Kingpin laughs at this, saying that he would have just killed him. Then Danny reveals that he was actually sent here to distract Fisk, and to send a message that he took something away from Matt Murdock, and now Matt Murdock is going to take something away from him. Fisk bashes out of his office and marches down the hall to his bedroom, where he finds Daredevil crouching in the dark around Fisk's comatose wife, Vanessa. And meanwhile, Mark Spector wakes up, gasping for air, and sets off into the night. But back in New York City, Wilson Fisk pleads with Daredevil to stop what he's doing, to let her go. Daredevil growls that Fisk pushed him here. He would have been fine just settling this in the court of law, but not after Fisk found out his identity. He notes that he can snap her neck within an instant, and Fisk weakly tells him that he believes him, and asks how they can figure this all out. Then Spider-Man arrives and tells Daredevil to stand down. Fisk watches silently as the two argue, and Daredevil tells Spider-Man that they can't go back now. Fisk knows all about them, about all of them. They can't let him get away or else he's gonna start killing people that they care for. Spidey convinces him to not kill a helpless sick woman because she's not a part of this. And Spidey tells him that when someone close to him was murdered, he had the chance to kill the guy, and he easily could have. But he didn't, because once something like that happens, it cannot be taken back. Daredevil bites back that this is the only thing Fisk will understand. But Fisk pleads with him to not do it, and he'll do anything to save Vanessa's life. Daredevil thinks about it for a moment, and first orders him to give himself up, then realizes that's not gonna work. So he orders him to leave the country, and that he has until midnight tomorrow, or else Daredevil is going to find Vanessa's neck and fucking snap it. And Spider-Man adds on that if anything happens to Daredevil or any of the other Knights, he'll sick Nick Fury on him. And Fisk knows he can do it too. The next morning, Captain Frank Quaid discusses some things with a cop as two strange characters walk behind them, and Ronin appears at the door trailing blood. He explains who he is, and that Wilson Fisk tried to kill him. And that night, as the sun sets and preparations have been made to leave the country with Vanessa, Fisk explodes in anger in his limousine as they drive to an airstrip outside of New York. He orders Mr. Rose to have Murdock killed once he's out of the country, to break Doctor Strange's hands, and have Midtown High blown up while class is in session. And as they arrive to his private jet, Fisk reminds Rose to hire the best there is to do these jobs, or else he'll regret it. And as he walks across the tarmac, a legion of SWAT and NYPD arrive, led by Frank Quaid, who arrests Wilson Fisk for the attempted murder of Stephen Grant, a.k.a. Mark Spector, a.k.a. Moon Knight, a.k.a. Ronin, a.k.a. that little redheaded girl. And that night turns into the following weeks, turns into the following months, as the official arrest of Wilson Fisk, New York's kingpin of crime, is covered by every news outlet. Fisk was identified by Stephen Grant in a lineup and arrested on numerous counts of attempted murder, battery, assault, extortion, racketeering. He is held in jail, denied bail, and this also marks the first time in the history of New York that a costume hero has come forward and revealed their secret identity. And a few weeks later, after both the recovery of Aunt May and their house, the Parkers are finally able to move back in after staying with the Watsons. Peter and May head inside and take a gander at the brand new and improved home, complete with new furnishings, appliances, and even stocked with food.
So, we should finally talk? So you're Spider-Man.
Yep.
A spider bit you and gave you spider powers.
Yeah, well, it was a genetically altered spider.
Oh, yeah, that spider from the field trip when we had to go to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't figure us out at the hospital.
Norman Osborn made some wacky drug and put it in a spider, and then it bit me.
It's always something with Norman Osborn.
Yep. Then he tried to do it to himself. And he turned into a green goblin and turned Harry into this orange goblin monster thing.
Oh my god, is that why he's been in our lives?
Yes!
You should have told me.
Well, by the time I knew, he was taken away.
Did you have to fight him?
Yeah, both of them. And Norman became, like, obsessed with me.
And you fight.
Well,
Beat people up?
yeah, but only bad people.
Still, the violence.
There's a lot of bad people.
You know you have to finish high school. It's important.
I know! I'm practically there!
And after that, you'll be an adult, so it's up to you.
I'm going to go to college and study genetic and chemical engineering, probably get a doctorate in both fields.
All while being Spider-Man?
Well, I kinda have to.
Why? Why do you have to?
Because with great power comes great responsibility.
Penn used to say that. He said it was something he and your father had been taught.
I know. He said that to me. It was the last thing he said to me.
Oh, honey.
And Aunt May, it's my fault that Uncle Ben died. The guy who killed him, I saw him robbing someone earlier that day, and I didn't stop him, and he was right there, and I let him go. And then he killed Uncle Ben, and I could have stopped him.
That's why you're Spider-Man? Because you think it's your fault Uncle Ben was killed.
I could have stopped him.
No, a man killed Ben. He pulled the trigger, not you.
No, you don't understand. I was right there. He was right in front of me. I just can't help feeling it, and I do what I do because I have to. Because, but I know. I think Uncle Ben would be proud of me, and I just.
He would. Okay. How do you find these people you beat up, which I don't approve of, by the way? And where does the costume come from? Because I know you can't sew. Or, well, I suppose I really don't. Oh, and how do you shoot the web things?
I mean, originally I just bought the costume to make money wrestling.
What?
I thought it was a good idea. But, yeah, MJ made me a new one.
Well, how does she handle it?
We break up, we get back together.
What?
Norman Osborn threw her off a bridge.
What?
This is why I never told you. Because of the danger it puts you in. And when I finally did, you keeled over.
I keeled over because your father and Gwen Stacy had just come back from the dead and people were shooting at the house.
But still, those weren't really them, by the way.
You don't know this, but I was kind of obsessed with why Spider-Man was so close to our lives. In this neighborhood, when Ben died, at your school, and now I know. And it's unbelievable how careless you are.
To prove how careful he actually is, Peter tells her about an adventure he went on just today. Peter tells her that something had happened at Roxxon Industries, and he followed the police across the city to a Roxxon lab. He found a massive high-tech laboratory with a man inside whose body was chalk white and had floating black spots wisping around it. But Spider-Man was eventually victorious. Peter wonders how and why all of this is happening so fast, so suddenly. Spider-Man, Iron Man, Goblins, Punishers, Mutants, Daredevils, Electros. Just a few years ago, there were no super people, and now there's like 100, and they keep popping up more and more every day. Peter wonders why it's happening. And then he makes a Ghostbusters reference, wondering if it means something bigger. May asks what it could be, but Peter has no answers. And she just tells him that she doesn't want him to get hurt. May says that it's not going to be easy turning on the TV and seeing him out there in trouble or hearing all the bad things that people say about him. And Peter tells her that the most important thing is that no one can know. And Peter jokes that on her 10th wedding anniversary, she can finally tell her new boyfriend Miles Warren. Peter explains that he was trying to spare her from all of this, and that if she doesn't want this in her life, he'll leave. May laughs and leans back and asks where he's gonna go, and she couldn't ever imagine that he would grow up to be this good of a person. She compares him to the best parts of his mother, his father, Uncle Ben, all rolled into one. And Peter adds that he's just as much part May as well. And May begins to tear up and tells him that he is staying right here. And he's going to grow up right here because she does not want to miss a minute of it. And they hug. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode of What Is. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Yet another great addition to the Ultimate Spider-Man saga, don't you think? It's not just the finale of Peter Parker's junior year. It's also the finale of Mark Bagley's time on the book. And it just feels like the ending of yet another massive chapter in this story. Which is why I have put it at the end of, Peter's junior year. Well, and I guess, there's still a couple months left until he becomes, graduates junior high, blah, blah, blah. That's not important. Nothing really happens in that time. But this is such a monumental story, I think, because Kingpin's gone. He's not going to be back for a while. That whole period of Peter Parker's life is over. Everything is going to change into his senior year, and we see that not just in the story, but with the artwork as well. Stuart Immonen takes over, then La Fuente, but finally Sarah Pichelli. Just like the characters and the individuals and these people evolving and changing as they grow up, so too does the art style change, and I really enjoy that. I think that just adds something extra to the experience, if you look at it the way I do. I think this was a spectacular send-off to the Kingpin, and even though there are probably more characters used in this story, it works better than that previous Knights-related arc with Hammerhead. I still don't know what it is about that one that just really stands out as not great. And maybe it's because this story arc was set up in that volume with Hammerhead, or it might just be Bendis kind of refining the oddities of that first one, that Warriors story. I don't know. Let me know if you have any thoughts. But I love these sections, especially as we come to the end of Ultimate Spider-Man. It's such a journey. It's so poignant, just how emotional and touching the story has become. And this is yet another aspect of the story that I relate to, like I mentioned last video when I got all emotional. Because in high school, after my grandfather died and it was just myself and my grandmother, I worried horribly that I was going to let my grandfather down in some way that I couldn't really expand upon as a teenager. And I was going to waste my life after he and my grandmother worked so hard to raise me and to help me. Because although I didn't have a spider bite that gave me superpowers, I did have something that affected me health-wise, and that is Tourette's and a tic disorder that I've had to deal with since I was 3 years old. And my grandmother and my grandfather did everything they could to help me, and reading these comics, reading this volume and this past volume, it's really made me appreciate the life that I grew up in more. I just don't know. I really related to Peter Parker, Ultimate Peter Parker especially. And going back and rereading these stories again, there's just something about the fact that this comic elicits such feelings from me. And I'm sure hundreds of thousands of other readers too. But it just proves how well it's done. It's so well written, it's well drawn, it's well colored. It's the pinnacle, the ultimate telling of Spider-Man, I think, and Peter Parker. It holds the original Spider-Man and its creators in such a high regard and such reverence. And I don't know if you noticed or not, if you've just been watching my videos or if you've actually gone and read this series for the first time. But there are a lot of comic creator names that are used throughout this series, just by Bendis as like extras or characters here and there, like Principal Andrew. That's named after a famous artist, comic artist. And it's a lot. It's just so much to take in, and it's beautiful. I truly do love Ultimate Spider-Man. I think it's probably one of the best comics of the past 20-something years. And Bendis understood some things worked in the original Spider-Man runs from the 60s up until 90s into the 2000s when this book was releasing. But other things didn't. And Ultimate Spider-Man is truly such a distillation, a beautiful alchemical concoction that turns things that didn't work and, conflicting storylines and plots and 50-something years of continuity into pure gold for the Spider-Man character. And it is just such a beautiful journey of a 2D world created over 20 years ago. And I hope that you are enjoying this as much as I am, because this is such a great journey. This is such a expression of art and storytelling, and I just love it so much. And I am really enjoying it, so I hope you are as well. As always, let me know what you thought in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on my thoughts. As always, check out my Patreon as well, where you can get early access to videos, all of my comics posted on there, movie commentaries, and more. Check out my Etsy shop if you want to pick up the physical copies of my comics, such as the Custodians, Agents of Cross, and every purchase comes with a free head sketch of any character of your choosing. And check out my podcast, the Comic Shtick Podcast, where comics are my shtick, and I Need Some Disney, where my Disney-obsessed wife and I sit down and discuss all things Disney. And I will see you guys next time for the finale of Spider-Ganza. Bye.